The sound of the slap echoed through the silent luxury lobby. A cleaning bucket tipped over. Water spilled across the shining marble floor, and the young black janitor standing beside it froze as every rich guest in the room stared at him. But the worst part wasn't the slap. It was what the hotel manager shouted next. "You people never learn where you belong." The words hung in the air like poison. For a moment, no one moved. The janitor slowly lifted his eyes. His name was Daniel Reed, and what everyone in that room believed about him was completely wrong. The Grand Sterling Hotel was one of the most expensive hotels in the city. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, golden decorations covered the walls. Luxury cars pulled up outside every few minutes as wealthy guests stepped inside the massive lobby. Everything about the place screamed power and money, and in the middle of that shining marble floor, Daniel quietly pushed his mop. His gray janitor uniform looked simple compared to the designer suits walking past him. But Daniel worked carefully, making sure the floor looked perfect. Most guests ignored him. Some barely noticed he existed. He was used to that. Then the glass doors opened. 3 wealthy guests walked in laughing loudly. One of them, a tall man wearing an expensive white suit, suddenly stopped. His shoe had stepped in a small puddle of water Daniel had just mopped. The man looked down in disgust. "What the hell is this?" Daniel immediately stepped forward. "I'm sorry, sir. The floor is still wet." Before he could finish, the man angrily wiped his shoe on the carpet. Unbelievable. The man looked around. Then he snapped his fingers loudly. "Manager!" Within seconds, the hotel manager rushed over. His name was Richard Collins, a strict man known for protecting the hotel's perfect reputation. "Yes, sir. What seems to be the problem?" The guest pointed at Daniel. "Your staff almost ruined my shoes." Collins turned slowly. His eyes landed on Daniel, and his face hardened. "What are you doing in the middle of the lobby?" Daniel blinked. "Cleaning, sir." Collins stepped closer. "You're blocking the entrance." Daniel looked confused. "This is the area I was told to mop." But Collins wasn't interested in explanations. "Guests are arriving. Move this mess somewhere else." Daniel began picking up the bucket. "I'll finish quickly." Suddenly, Collins slapped the mop out of his hand. The bucket tipped over. Water spilled across the floor, and the lobby fell silent. Guests turned to watch. Collins' voice rose loudly. "I told you people not to clean here during peak hours." Daniel stared at him. "You people." Collins pointed toward the back hallway. "Staff entrance is that way. Use it." Daniel felt the tension building, but he remained calm. "I work here, sir." Collins leaned closer. "Then act like it." The tall guest smirked. "Honestly, these workers think they belong everywhere." A few guests laughed quietly. Daniel slowly bent down and picked up the bucket. His face remained calm, but inside, something else was happening. Across the lobby, the security guard watched quietly. He knew something the others didn't, and he was waiting. Then suddenly, the glass doors opened again. This time, a long black limousine stopped outside. The entire lobby shifted. People whispered, "That's him, the owner." Everyone turned toward the entrance. The doors opened. A tall, older man stepped inside wearing a dark suit. His name was William Sterling, Billionaire, founder of the Sterling Hotel empire, and the most powerful man connected to the building. Richard Collins immediately straightened his tie and rushed forward. "Mr. Sterling, welcome back." But the billionaire barely looked at him. His eyes were scanning the room, searching. Then he saw Daniel, standing beside the spilled bucket. For a moment the billionaire froze. Then something unexpected happened. His face lit up with joy. "Daniel." The voice echoed through the lobby. Everyone turned. The billionaire walked quickly across the marble floor, straight past the confused manager, straight toward the janitor, and before anyone could react, William Sterling wrapped his arms around Daniel in a warm hug. "My boy." The entire lobby went silent. The rich guests stared in disbelief. Collins looked like the ground had disappeared beneath his feet. Daniel smiled slightly. "Hi, Dad." The word hit the room like thunder. "Dad." The billionaire stepped back proudly. "I didn't expect you to come today." Collins' mouth opened. "Your son?" the tall guest whispered. "That janitor?" William Sterling nodded calmly. "Yes." The room erupted with shocked whispers. Collins looked pale. "But he's wearing a janitor uniform." Daniel answered quietly. "I asked for it." The billionaire placed a hand on his shoulder. "My son has been studying hotel management," Daniel continued, "and I wanted to understand how staff are treated in real life." Collins suddenly looked nervous. "You mean this was some kind of test?" Daniel nodded slowly. "For 3 weeks, the security guard near the door crossed his arms. He had been part of the secret the whole time." Daniel looked directly at Collins. And tonight I saw something important. The manager swallowed. What? What do you mean? Daniel pointed toward the spilled water. You didn't ask what happened. He pointed toward the guest. You didn't ask if the floor sign was there. Then he looked straight into Collins' eyes. You just decided I didn't belong. The lobby was completely silent now. William Sterling's expression became serious. Is that true? Collins stammered. I was protecting the hotel's image, Daniel replied calmly. A hotel's image isn't its chandeliers. He gestured around the room. It's how you treat people who work for you. Some guests began nodding quietly. The billionaire looked disappointed. Then he turned toward the manager. Richard, we built this company on respect. Collins' voice trembled. Mr. Sterling, I can explain. But Daniel gently shook his head. No need. He looked at the billionaire. Dad, I think the test worked. William Sterling nodded slowly. Yes, I think it did. He turned toward the security guard. Please escort Mr. Collins to my office. The manager's face went completely white. Sir, please. But the security guard had already stepped forward. Right this way. The lobby watched as the once powerful manager was quietly escorted away. The tall guest who complained earlier suddenly looked very uncomfortable. He quickly walked toward the exit. Daniel picked up the mop again. The billionaire laughed softly. You can stop working now. Daniel grinned. Actually, I still need to finish this section. Some guests began clapping. Others joined. Within seconds, the entire lobby filled with applause. Not for the billionaire, but for the janitor. Uniforms can fool your eyes, but respect reveals the truth. The applause slowly faded, but the atmosphere inside the Grand Sterling Hotel had completely changed. Only minutes earlier, most of the people in the lobby had walked past Daniel as if he didn't exist. Now they were staring at him in a completely different way, not as a janitor, but as someone important. Daniel looked down at the mop in his hands and smiled awkwardly. I guess this got a little more dramatic than I expected. His father, William Sterling, laughed quietly. You could say that again. Several reporters who had been waiting outside the hotel for a business interview suddenly rushed into the lobby. Cameras lifted into the air, flashes lighting up the marble walls. One reporter spoke loudly. Mr. Sterling, is it true that your son has been secretly working here as a janitor? Guests immediately pulled out their phones, recording everything. William Sterling glanced at Daniel. You want to answer that? Daniel shrugged slightly. Sure. He stepped forward, still wearing the gray janitor uniform. Yes? For 3 weeks I've been working here like any other staff member, another reporter asked quickly. Why would the son of a billionaire do that? Daniel leaned on the mop handle. Because I wanted to see something with my own eyes. The reporter tilted her head. What exactly? Daniel looked around the lobby slowly. I wanted to see how people treat workers when they think no one important is watching. The room became quiet again. Some hotel employees standing near the reception desk lowered their eyes. They knew exactly what he meant. William Sterling nodded proudly. My son has always believed that leadership starts from the ground up. Daniel smiled slightly. Well, technically I started from the floor. A few people laughed softly, but the reporters kept asking questions. One of them pointed toward the hallway where the former manager had been taken. What will happen to Mr. Collins? William Sterling crossed his arms. That will be handled privately, Daniel added calmly. But I can say one thing. Everyone waited. No employee in this hotel should ever feel like they don't belong. The cameras kept flashing. In the corner of the lobby, several housekeeping staff members were watching the scene unfold. An older woman named Maria whispered to another worker, I worked here 8 years, and nobody ever stood up for us like that. Daniel overheard her. He walked toward them. Maria immediately looked nervous. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean. Daniel quickly shook his head. Please don't call me sir. He pointed to his uniform. I'm still part of the cleaning crew tonight. The worker smiled nervously. Daniel continued. And tomorrow, I want to have a meeting with all hotel staff. Maria blinked. A meeting. Daniel nodded. I want to hear your stories. One of the younger workers looked surprised. You mean complaints? Daniel shrugged. Suggestions, problems, ideas, anything. William Sterling watched his son carefully. There was pride in his eyes. For years he had built one of the largest hotel companies in the country. But moments like this reminded him that the future of the company might be even stronger. Because Daniel understood something many powerful people forgot. Respect. Meanwhile, across the lobby, the tall guest, who had complained about the wet floor earlier, was quietly trying to slip out of the hotel. But Daniel noticed him. Men froze. Slowly he turned back. Yes, Daniel walked toward him. You forgot something? The man looked confused. Mashush. Daniel smiled. No. Then he pointed toward the wet floor sign that had been standing only a few feet away earlier. The sign that warned you about the floor. Some guests chuckled quietly. The man's face turned red. Well, I didn't see it. Daniel nodded politely. That happens. The man cleared his throat awkwardly. Well, good job saving those kids yesterday. Daniel looked surprised. You heard about that? The man nodded. It's on the news. Several guests nearby confirmed it. One woman pulled out her phone. I saw the video. You ran back into the building twice. Daniel looked embarrassed. They were scared. The man shifted uncomfortably. Listen, bow earlier. I shouldn't have spoken like that. Daniel simply nodded. Apology accepted. The tension broke. The man quickly left the lobby. William Sterling walked back toward his son. You handled that well, Daniel shrugged. I didn't want revenge. What did you want? Daniel looked around the huge luxury hotel. I wanted people to think. His father smiled. Well, judging by tonight, you succeeded. Just then, the security guard who had escorted the manager away returned to the lobby. He approached William Sterling quietly. Sir, Mr. Collins has cleared his office. William Sterling nodded. Thank you. Daniel looked at him. You fired him. His father sighed. Leadership is responsibility. When someone forgets that, they shouldn't lead. Daniel understood. Across the lobby, the hotel pianist slowly began playing music again. Guests returned to their conversations, but the energy in the building felt different now. Warmer, more aware. A young bellhop approached Daniel nervously. Mr. Daniel. Daniel smiled. Yes, I just wanted to say, thanks. For what? The bellhop shrugged. For reminding people we exist. Daniel placed them up back into the bucket. You've always existed. He looked around the room. Sometimes people just forget to look. The bellhop grinned. Well, they're looking now. Daniel glanced toward the giant glass doors. Outside, the night city lights shimmered across the street. 3 weeks earlier, he had walked through those same doors wearing the janitor uniform for the first time. Nobody noticed him. Tonight, the entire building knew his name. But what mattered most to him wasn't the applause, or the cameras, or even the title of Billionaire's son. What mattered was the quiet smiles from the workers standing nearby, because they knew something important had changed. Daniel grabbed the mop one last time. His father laughed again. You're still cleaning? Daniel winked. I told you. I finished my shift. And as he pushed the mop across the shining marble floor, the people who had once ignored the janitor now watched him with respect, because sometimes the most powerful lesson in a luxury hotel is taught by the person holding the mop.